Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Zach7365, and I'm coming back at you with a little bit more of some Speedroid tech and just theory crafting and just talking in general. I want to touch up on how the deck fares against the meta, some of the more weak points within some of the more popular decks. I've kind of narrowed it down to about the 6 top meta decks right now that are seeing the most representation, and just kind of want to go over like side decking patterns as well, as long as just the matchups in general and how they usually fare, how the deck fares against them. So if you like this type of content, please let me know down below. Leave me comments down below, like, subscribe if you want to, but let's hop into it. So first up on the list, we have ABC THERION. We'll put the list like over here as an example, going over basically what the deck does. It relies heavily on spell cards to get started. It is basically a 3-card engine. They want to see all 3 engines if possible. So their Union Hanger, they want to see their THERION stuff, they want to see their Adventure Line. So being able to shut them off from any spell cards is very huge. That's where a card like Anti-Spell comes in clutch. You also have board wipes in the form of Lightning Storm. Twin Twisters can just turn off a lot of things going second. Unfortunately, D-Barrier doesn't do as much against them, but D-Barrier is just good against most decks in the format, so it's definitely a possibility. Mystic Mine, if you can get this to stick, I mean, they usually end up having every monster zone filled, to be honest, either with pieces or just engine entirely, because they've got Draco back, they've got the token, they've got IP in the extra monster zone, they got a Buster, they got the THERION guy. So they have to burn through their at least one negate before they can actually break their Buster into pieces and then use IP to go into an Appaloosa or into a Unicorn, whichever one they decide to make. So this matchup's not too bad. You just need to make sure you're seeing your side deck cards. It does draw and add cards a lot, so stuff like maybe Crow would be good. Imperm doesn't really hurt the deck all too much. There's really nothing to Imperm except for like maybe their end pieces. That's really about it. So if you have Imperms, hold them until your turn. Use them as a way to force out interruption, or make them bust their Buster Dragon early. That's usually the plan there. For the main deck, like what I would be siding out for the matchups usually is the bells don't really do much, since you can't. The cards equipping themselves from the graveyard, you can't really stop, so usually the bells come out. The Ogre's not terrible, against the Adventure Engine. The Droll's not bad. You could probably just cut out the Imperms if you want to, and just make sure you're seeing your side deck. If you know you're going second, you can definitely cut out. Yeah, I would cut out probably at least one Imperm, maybe an Ash, the bells, your 2 speed recoveries because they're kind of cloggy, and one of the trap because the trap does nothing for you going second while you're trying to break boards. You do need to play at least the 1 for Ultra Hound in case you need to go down that route. But yeah, just the 2 bells, the 2 speed recoveries, and a duplicate plus the 1 infinite impermanence at least. That's already 6 cards. That easily fits in your anti-spells, and then maybe your Twin Twisters or your Lightning Storms. You definitely want to be putting Twin Twisters in this format if you're going second, just because everyone else is playing anti-spell, so you need to be able to make sure you're able to play your spell cards. That, or you need to make sure you are taking out all of your normal spells. That way, if you hard open like the emergency teleports or the Speedroid wheel, for example, you can still just activate that in response to the anti-spell, but you're also facing down multiple negates on top of it. So, overall, the matchup for that one is pretty back and forth. It's really just who draws better and who actually can see their engine. Whereas we just need 2 win monsters and they need like 2 to 3 engines to actually play. It's kind of similar to like Prank Kids, but with machines. Like, that's the way that my buddy described it, and that's the way I kind of see it too. They're just prank kids, but they're machines. Now, they're kind of dead in hand. You really don't want to see more than 1, maybe, or you just want to see the field spell. That way you can get it and just keep going from there. But overall, that matchup's not too bad for this deck. What we do have problem with is the next 2. This will be ELDLICH and its variants. So Eldlich as a pure or Eldlich as the branded strategy. It's mostly just the back row that gives me problems. That's kind of like why I wanted to try out the Mistworm in particular. Just in case I do lose the die roll, I have a way to bounce 3 cards back to their hand. It's either going to force out interactions or it's just going to go off. It doesn't really help with skill drain, but you do have combo lines that get you into like Wind Pegasus. If you can get Pegasus in the grave, you'd be able to bounce like a skill drain back, and then they probably have another one. Game 1, it's usually a really rough matchup. If you lose the die roll, you're most likely going to lose that game, unfortunately. But going into like games 2 and 3, that's where a lot of your hate will come in, such as the red reboot. Mystic Mine really doesn't do anything in this matchup. You can try D-Barrier if they're doing more of the branded stuff, but usually that's just to get Jade on field and maybe send Lord to grave. So that's not really worth it. Imperms are kind of dead. You can safely probably side those out. Same with like everything else we were talking about. You could probably just side out all 3 Imperms, and then maybe the 2 recoveries, and maybe the Droll? I think Droll would be fine, because it doesn't really do much against them. But yeah, going second against them, you're going to want to be bringing in the Red Reboot, the Twins, the Lightning Storm, and if they're on the branded side of things, you could put in the D-Barriers if you can find room, but that's already 6 cards that you need to swap in. If you're going first, though, you can definitely put in the Anti-Spells. You can put in the Twin Twisters, and still put in the Red Reboot because, yeah, we hate trap decks. I hate trap cards so much, but you got to play them to beat them, which is unfortunate. Other than that, it's really just dice roll dependent and also just the variance of the deck. You need 2 wins to start, essentially, or you need Small World, Terror Top, any of those to really get going. But other than that, the deck, it's not a bad matchup. It's really just, did you open well? Did they open well? Did you draw the out? Because if you draw Red Reboot against them, it's just an FTK. So, unless they have Judgment, then that's a different story. But I digress. Moving on to the next one, I want to talk about Flu. I hate this matchup too. Yep, birds. It's not so much the birds and like the barrier statue that gives me a problem. It's the field spell. It's the Impin. It's the trap that books everything. Like, playing against Flu as a synchro deck is awful because you need your stuff face up, obviously. Getting all your pieces flipped face down with the trap card is just mind-numbingly toxic, and I hate it so much. So for that matchup, you gotta hope they don't open the shifter. So you're already looking at a 33 to 34% chance of losing game 1 automatically. That's if, and it doesn't matter if you go first or second. I mean, you need your graveyard set up in order to be able to grind with Speedroids and to play on the following turn. We can still kill on like turn 2 or like our first turn. We can still kill pretty easily, but it definitely gets a lot easier if we are able to go first, set up, and then we have like basically all of our resources ready to go in the grave. So for this matchup, if you know you're going first, of course, Anti-Spell is great. Keep in your Ash Blossoms, keep in your Imperms. You could probably take out the Ghost Spell, honestly, since nothing's ever really going to hit their grave. The Droll is pretty good as long as they don't have the shifter. Arguably, you could probably find room to put in the Gamma package. I do like Gamma just because of the shifter. And it's also not a bad card in general into the game, to the meta as well. Just a monster negate that also destroys the monster from the hand. Like, I mean, that's a heck of a hand trap. Otherwise, like, if you know you're going second, you're gonna want I would still put Anti-Spell and Twin into the main. If you know you're going first, and then if you know you're going second, you want to put in Twin. You could possibly put in Reboot if you want to. Everything that they summon is going to be in attack mode, so Lightning Storm is huge here. It's just Raigeki. And then 3 copies of Mystic Mine. If they don't want to let us play, we're not going to let them play. So this will force out the Apex if they have it. If not, we just Yeah, you can also ogre the apex and then it doesn't get its effect, so that's pretty cool. But it doesn't matter under shifter. But yeah, for that matchup, if you know you're going second, Mystic Mine, Lightning Storms, Twins, and maybe Red Reboot if you can find the room. Right there, that is 5 cards. So against them, it would definitely be the 2 Bells, 1 of the Trap. Take out the Ogre. And then you would probably take out 1 of the Small Worlds, 2 of the Speed Recoveries. 2 of the Speed Recoveries. And that would give you 1 more card. Arguably, if we know they're on the shifter, we could probably just cut the Droll down too. That way we have the 8th slot. If not, you can always just cut one of your E-Tellies. Just because you're cutting the Ogre out anyway. And we only played the 1 Pilico, so it would make sense as a flex spot. But yeah, those were the 8 I would take out. It would be the 2 Speed Recoveries, 1 Small World, 1 E-Telly, 1 Ghost Ogre, 1 copy of Duplicate, and 2 copies of Bell. To put in the 3 Mystic Mine, 3 Twin, 2 Lightning, 1 Red Reboot. For going second. Going first, I mean, yeah, like I said, I would still put in the Twins at least, plus the anti-spells. And keep in all of your important cards. So for this, so we could put 2 more cards back into the deck. I would honestly probably put maybe one of the Speed Recoveries and the Ogre back in, or if anything, put the Small World in and the Ogre. But also at the same time, it just depends. If you want to risk it, and if you're afraid of the shifter, for example, I would just go ahead and put in the other duplicate back in if you know you're going first. And that should just be a clean side for you. No real issues after that point. So up next we have SWORDSOUL. This one probably should have been a little bit further up the list, but it was just the way that I typed it out, so this is the way we're talking about it. Okay, so for SWORDSOUL, overall, they're basically doing the same type of thing we are, except they lose the Token Collector. We're not playing Token Collector because there's just not room for literally everything. So pretty much what we want to do is, if we win the die roll and we win game 1, it's pretty simple. So game 2, when we're going second, this is where we're going to be putting in possibly the Twins, the Mines for sure, the Lightning Storm, and everything like that. So that would mean we would need to side out 8 cards. So similar to the previous matchups, those are the cards we'd be siding out. Arguably, you could probably cut down Ash and Imperm to 1 to keep the Bells in. Although the Bell doesn't really come up too much against SWORDSOUL, I feel like. Like, there might be, like, some niche interactions that it could possibly be good in. But overall, I'd probably, yeah, let's just cut the Bells. Keep the Imperm and the Ash in. So 2 Bells, 2 Speed Recoveries, 1 of the Trap, maybe a Small World, an E-Tally, and possibly maybe a Small World, maybe. That's 8. I would keep the Ogre in just because it is good against them. It puts them on, you better have it. And then going second. Yeah, Mystic Mine is just an FTK once you bait out the Dare and Negate if they have it. Or if you just bait out the Ching Ying, like the new level 10. If you bait that out for the spell activation, you burn for 12, who cares? You slap down Mystic Mine and you draw until you find an out. And then, yeah, Twin Twister for the back row hay. For Imperms, could be for the Blackout itself, etc., etc. Overall, that matchup isn't too bad for me. Like, I've never really had too much problem with it. It's usually just comes down to who drew better. Like, and they always draw crack too, man. Like, it's crazy. But moving on to the next one, Branded Despia. This is pretty much, I feel like this is the buy for this deck. Cute Super Poly, bro. What are you gonna do? Y'all ain't playing Mud Dragon. So we'll put in our list like right here ish. So for the most part, from what I've seen, a lot of people they're prioritizing cards for just general comboing, general play, and they're not expecting like the rogue side of things. They're not putting in the mud dragon for weird stuff. You know, like we're ending on a wind warrior and a wind dragon and a wind machine. Like mud dragon is the only super poly target that they have, aside from like normal summon Albaz or set Albaz and then activate super poly. That is the only way that they can really use it. And other than that, I mean, the deck's not too hard to beat, because I mean, we can literally just make Kite Drake blow up their board, and then they blow up our Kite Drake, and we get a search for Terratop at the end phase. Like it's kind of free. So overall, it's not bad. Mistworm was kind of funny in that one instance. If you guys watch the deck profile. Other than that, it was overall, I don't think that Branded DESPIA is too hard for Speedroids. Definitely one of the easier matchups, and I'm glad it's highly represented because it is kind of free to an extent. But it also could just be that I know the lines. But it could just also be that I know the deck to an extent, where I was playing the branded Predaplant stuff. I've done like the heavier DESPIA side of things. I've been testing that out. And also just in general, like how the branded stuff works is pretty self-explanatory. And then lastly, I just want to touch on this, just the TRI-BRIGADE variants. This deck's, it is what it is. You can force out their early. You can force out their revolt early. You can just bell the revolt. Usually an imperm on the right one can just end the turn. I feel like you always Ash Fractal. Or if you see them normal summon Kit and then link it off into Almirage, that's usually a telltale sign that you need to just Ash the Kit. Just keeping them out off the names overall is probably pretty good. Yeah, there's not too much I'd really side in against them. The anti-spell, maybe to keep them off of maybe their own blowout cards like Dark Ruler No More. Lightning Storm, etc., etc. If you like have the anti-spell, you could safely just leave your Crystal Wings in attack mode. That puts them on they better have the back row removal, which it's really weird because you can sometimes you have back row with Speedroids and sometimes you don't. Like sometimes you set 3, sometimes it's all monsters or it's all in the hand. So it just depends. Overall, that's pretty much it. The deck itself is pretty standard, so we'll do a quick recap for those who need just the final reminder. So for me personally, I always feel like if I know I'm going second, Speed Recovery can come out pretty easily. That's 2 cards immediately. If I know I'm going second as well, I can take out a Duplicate. These 3, that's just your anti-spells right there. That's pretty free. Everything else, it is really up to what the matchup is. If it's Flu, just take out the hand traps that have to go to grave to activate, and then just play your board breakers instead. If you're going first, most of the time it's just the generic stuff that we can take out, or just the more defensive, like, oh, what if I go first? What if I go second? Game 1, etc. Yeah, especially the ABC matchup, just take out the 3 Imperm and just put in blowout cards. It achieves pretty much the same thing, if not a little bit better, especially if you can stick a Mystic Mine. Certain matchups you can take out an Ash Blossom pretty safely. Like, it just really depends. Learn the matchups, like, primarily. Like, that's the big thing. Learn your matchups. The deck will pretty much fit into anything you want to toss it at. But yeah, that's just my theory with siding in this deck. It's pretty understandable. Like, I feel like it's not too hard. Just learn your matchups, learn what other people are playing. If you're playing at locals, you can learn people's patterns, how they react, their body language. You can pick up on that stuff too. And overall, I would say that pretty much sums it up. The only thing I'd like to change possibly is putting in the Gamma package or maybe token collectors. Like, if you're going to a bigger event, I feel like those would be pretty good. But overall, this seems honestly solid. Like, who cares if they can build a board if we're just going to Mystic Mine them? Force out the Baron negate and then just Mystic Mine and then sit there for for SWORDSOUL. So that's the idea. And then you just Mystic Mine the Flu player with like 4 little birds on field, and we laugh and we have a good day. But guys, that's pretty much about it. I hope that was a little bit insightful. Hope you enjoyed it. Coming up next should be the Predaplant stuff. I am currently working on this at like midnight of Thursday. It is now Friday for me. I will be leaving like in 24 hours to go on my trip. So hopefully I can get this done before I leave. If not, I will see you all in probably about a week or 2. Just depends on whenever I can get the video put together when I get back. But anyway, if you like the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And until the next one, guys, peace out.